Hey everyone, and welcome back to Dallas Cowboys coverage. Cooper Rush and the Cowboys have done it again. It is rush hour in Dallas, and I don't know. The Cowboys, they've just been able to get it done. It was a great win against the Giants last night, and now that is two in a row. And that is our first win streak of the year. So, Cooper Rush, the Cowboys, great job. I thought Cooper Rush looked even better than he did last week against the Bengals. And who knows? So next week, the Cowboys will take on the Washington Commanders. I think that's another win. I think the Giants are better than the Commanders are. The Cowboys defense absolutely feasted on Daniel Jones. Now I can't wait to see what they're going to do to Carson Wentz. So a great game. I'm going to break it all down. So let's get right into it. So the Cowboys it was a great game, great win. Just overall, just a really good performance by the Cowboys. They get the win 23-16 in the Meadowlands as they beat the New York Football Giants. So it was just a great game. I want to start just with the offense. We'll just go chronologically. So Cooper Rush, a good game. The stats were solid. Had the one touchdown pass to CeeDee Lamb. Incredible catch, by the way. But Cooper Rush managed this game, I think, even better than last game. Last game, the stats looked good, but they were a little deceiving. There were a lot of throws that were not the best. Some lucky breaks that really could have been and should have been intercepted by the Bengals. This week, there were not any of those. They were all very accurate, good passes. None were really in danger of being intercepted, and none, of course, were. And he did not turn the ball over. The offense didn't turn the ball over. The defense, however, got some turnovers. We'll talk about that later. So it was just a great performance by Cooper Rush. Again, just doing everything he's been asked to do. He's got his job done and in a big way for the Dallas Cowboys. So no, there's no quarterback controversy. Once Dak comes back, it's Dak's team, unquestionably. But Cooper Rush has done an incredible job filling in, and got to give him some serious props for that. The run game has been excellent, and this is something that needs to translate once Dak gets back. I think Kellen Moore really changed the way he's been calling this offense since Cooper Rush got here, trying to lean more on the quick, the short passes, the run game, of course, to make it just a little easier on Cooper Rush. And I think they should continue this when Dak gets back. Why are they trying to make it hard on him? Obviously, he can do more, and there's a lot more you can incorporate with Dak Prescott, and I'm not saying they shouldn't do that. But at the same time, they should also try to keep it simple. It's worked with Cooper Rush. Dak, anything Cooper Rush can do, Dak can do better. He has proven that over the course of his career. So he can add even more of a dynamic to the offense, but stick to the running game. Stick to the quick, the easy passes. Don't try to get so complicated that you're making it harder on yourself when it's unnecessary. Use the run game to your advantage, and it was on full display tonight. Ezekiel Elliott, one of his best games he's had in a while. I think it was around 75-ish yards, averaged 4.9 yards a carry. One of the best totals for him. I think probably the best this season. He looked good, had some good burst runs, had that one great one, the toss on third down. He really looked good and was powerful getting into the end zone for that touchdown, ramming, breaking over tackles, running over people, and getting into the end zone. Tony Pollard, obviously, the other running back one, as Jerry said in his interview today. It's an incredible 1-2 punch. Zeke is the power, and Pollard is the speed. He went off for an incredible run behind the left side of the offensive line of Tyler Smith and left guard Jason Peters, who, again, I'll talk about more later. So he was incredible on that run. His burst is unmatched. It's incredible. One of the fastest and quickest. There's a difference. Running backs in this league. He has incredible burst off the line of scrimmage, incredible run speed and acceleration. He is an incredible running back, and this 1-2 punch of Zeke and Pollard was excellent on Monday night, and it's just got to continue. It's got to continue to be used, and at the same time, too, I really like that one play where Zeke was lined up at that sort of up back, fullback position, that quick and powerful run through to get that first down. Great play. Do more like that. Have them both on the field. Keep the defenses guessing, and you'll kind of have a lot of success on the run game. Wide receivers, Noah Brown was another great game for him. I think it was around 54 yards, something like that. Another just solid game. Him and Cooper Rush have some excellent chemistry, and we've seen it on display for these first 2 weeks. CeeDee Lamb was a tale of two halves for him. I'm going to say it was a good game because in the end it was, but obviously the first half was rough. He had that really bad dropped deep ball, possibly a touchdown, at least a first and goal type of setup there. Just bounced right off his fingertips, and that's something we've seen out of CeeDee Lamb. The drops have been an issue in his career, and that's something he's going to have to continue to work on and continue to improve upon if he wants to be the true number one and fully reliable number one wide receiver for this Cowboys team. CeeDee Lamb has been very good in his career, but I think we're all still waiting for him to reach that elite level. I think he was maybe a little bit overrated coming into the season. I think the loss of Amari Cooper has really affected him, and him being just thrust into that number one role was not that he's not ready for it. I think he is, but it's a tougher adjustment, I think, than a lot of people were expecting it to be. But I think it's fair. I mean, CeeDee Lamb has been very good in his first couple years in the league, but just being thrown into that number one wide receiver role is no easy task. So it's been a little bit rough to start the season. He's got some good traction in these past few games and an incredible second half. He made up for that drop in an incredible way. That one-handed catch, left-handed, in the back of the end zone. It was a great play. Not only that, he was just moving, running over people. One of the most powerful wide receivers, I'd say, after the catch. He's not afraid to truck through people. And another play that I think cannot be overshadowed or understated was the fourth down conversion. He got that, took a shot, was absolutely hit stick, but is able to get the first down. That was key and really, I think, was the turning point in that game to pick up that fourth down conversion, go on and score that touchdown. That was a great drive by CeeDee Lamb and a great second half by him as he was so close to reaching that 100-yard total. But did have the touchdown and a pretty good game for fantasy owners for CeeDee Lamb. So he really improved as the game went on, and I look for him to continue to work and improve upon the progress he's made as the season continues to roll on. Tight ends, Peyton Hendershot. He has impressed since the moment he came onto this Cowboys team. He was great in preseason and had a good performance, filling in part for Dalton Schultz. Him along with Jake Ferguson played solid, but of course the Cowboys will be excited to likely have Dalton Schultz back next week after the PCL sprain he suffered in week 2. But he should be good to go. And speaking on the injuries, I want to hit on Michael Gallup real quick as well. Was expected by a lot of Cowboys media members to play. It was never really confirmed at any point, and he, of course, did not end up playing on Sunday. I think he is very, very likely to play next week, barring some extreme setback. I think the Cowboys just wanted to play it smart, give him extra time, which I like. I don't think, especially in this against these less competitive teams like the Giants, the Commanders, I don't see the point in rushing him back if he is not 100% ready, because we need him down the stretch more than we need him right this moment. So I say let him just be fully ready, and I think he will be next week. But again, I like the not rushing Michael Gallup, patience with him, and I think that even when he does come back, which will likely be next week, he'll probably be on a bit of a snap count, just like Jason Peters was today. So look to see him next week, but again, no rush on Michael Gallup. The offensive line was very good. The offensive line, the starters coming in, Tyler Smith, Matt Farniok, Tyler Biadasz, Zack Martin, Terrence Steele. Coming into the year, that was a pretty scary-looking offensive line, and not in a good way for the Cowboys. Zack Martin really being the only proven player. The rest was a lot of question marks coming in, but they really performed well against a solid pass rush by the Giants. Not one of the best in the league, but certainly not one of the worst either. So the offensive line had their best game as a unit this season, and it was great to see. Tyler Smith, I would say, has been the best first-round pick this year. We saw Evan Neal get absolutely cooked by DeMarcus Lawrence and the rest of the Cowboys pass rushers, and he was a top 5 pick. So you got to give props to Tyler Smith. Ike Ekwonu, Charles Cross, other first-round picks have not performed to the level that Tyler Smith has. So he has came in at left tackle, mind you, not even left guard, and done an incredible job. Only 1 sack allowed thus far, and that's on a lot of pass rush snaps. Did have a couple penalties, the false start and the holding, which was declined. But that is, his main issue, I would say, just the discipline issues, the penalties. That is something that can be fixed. He is still a rookie, but simply what he's done through the first 3 games of the season have greatly exceeded, I think, everyone's expectations on him. So props to Tyler Smith, along with the rest of the offensive line. Matt Farniok, I thought, played better today. Not the best, obviously, but Jason Peters filled in at left guard for some time. He was, again, on that bit of a pitch count. Look for him to continue to probably just be filling in at times. McGovern might be back next week, but it's sort of unclear what Jason Peters exactly will be doing, but he has a lot of position flex. He can play left tackle, he can play right tackle. He proved he could play left guard, at least for the short time he was in. So he'll continue to fill in wherever he's needed, and he is still a force on the offensive line. We saw him just run over a guy on that big Tony Pollard run. Beatis, haven't heard a lot of him, which is probably a good thing. He's played well as well. Zack Martin, good as always, and Terrence Steele has improved a lot since the rough week 1 showing. So the offensive line as a whole has really played well, and I'm impressed with them. So moving right along, let's get into the defense. Man, this unit is good. This is the best Cowboys defense I have seen, I'd say, ever in my time of watching the Cowboys. Des Bryant was talking about how him and Tony Romo could have used that defense, and I agree. If this defense was on that 2014 team, even the 2016 team, man, those teams could go deep. And who would have thought, the offense has always been the strong point, at least in the past couple of years. And just for this defensive unit to go from where it was as really just about the worst in the entire league in 2020 to just 2 years later as truly an elite unit in 2022, got to credit Dan Quinn for that transformation. It's been absolutely amazing. DeMarcus Lawrence, the veteran, led the defense last night. Incredible. 3 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, 3 QB hits. He was amazing. He was outstanding. It was just so exciting to see him, as he's an elite run stopper. He is a great veteran player on defense, but the pass rush hasn't been there in recent years like it was in his prime, per se. But man, he looked good. He looked really, really good, and he was just dominant. He could have had 5 sacks, honestly. Could have had even more if it weren't for the injury. He was putting a ton of pressure on Daniel Jones. And so not only do I want to give him credit, but I want to give Micah Parsons a lot of credit. DeMarcus Lawrence has been known to really catch the eye of offensive lines. Everyone's focused on him, that it allows guys like Robert Quinn, Alden Smith, and Micah Parsons over the past few years to really be able to rack up the sacks. Everyone's focused on DeMarcus Lawrence, that guys, lower caliber guys that you'd think, Alden Smith, Robert Quinn, able to really put up incredible sack numbers. And we've always given DeMarcus Lawrence, or I have at least, a lot of credit for that. But today, it feels like Micah Parsons deserves a lot of that credit. It almost feels like he has taken the role, and he has taken the role as the top pass rusher. So now it's sort of flipped between him and the role that Lawrence played for a long time. Teams are so focused on Micah Parsons. He was triple teamed last night, and that allowed guys like Dorance Armstrong, like DeMarcus Lawrence, to really feast on the quarterback and get those sacks, because everyone's so worried about Micah Parsons that they're allowed to run just about free. So Micah Parsons obviously didn't have a sack. Look for that to change against Carson Wentz. I think he's going to get back up there. But I can't overstate the fact that even though he didn't have a sack, even though the stat line didn't look all that great, he was still one of the, if not the most important player on that defense, because of the fear he instills in offensive lines. They were so worried about blocking him that the Cowboys were able to get I think, league high pressures. I think it was 21 or something like that. And they lead the league so far in pressures so far into the season. Micah Parsons deserves a lot of credit for that. All right, so moving right along, we're taking a little while here. There's just so much positive, just so much good to talk about. So I'll keep it going, but still I want to hit on everyone at least a little bit. The linebackers were also great. Van Der Esch was pretty solid, I would say. Him and Anthony Barr have done a good job at the linebacker core. But the safeties, Donovan Wilson, 11 tackles, had the sack, I think a tackle for a loss as well. He's been amazing filling in for Jayron Kearse. And I think he was a little bit of a forgotten man coming into the year. He was very, very good in 2020, if you guys remember. Obviously not as good of a unit there, but he was very good at strong safety. Battled a lot of injuries last year, and Jayron Kearse took over that starting role. But now that Jayron Kearse has been hurt, Donovan Wilson has stepped in and really done a good job. I like him a lot, and of course, looking forward for Kearse to come back. But Donovan Wilson has really made that injury hurt a lot less, and I look for him to continue to have a big role alongside both Malik Hooker and Jayron Kearse as the Cowboys continue to use those three safety sets, even with the return of Kearse, because Donovan Wilson has just been so good. You've got to get him on the field. All right, cornerbacks. Anthony Brown and Jordan Lewis, again, were just solid. They've been pretty solid as the year's gone on. Anthony Brown struggled a little bit in coverage, but that's something that's just he's going to have to continue to work on. He's a solid cornerback. Nothing special, but he got his job done, so that's all you can really ask for. Malik Hooker, we talked about the safeties, had some really big hits, some good plays by him. I really like what he's done, and he's come a long way since coming last season, coming off the torn Achilles. He's really carved out a good role for himself on the defense as your starting free safety. So defensive line, I want to talk a little bit about the interior. Odigizua, Gallimore, Tristan Hill, not their probably best showings, as the interior of the defensive line still could use some work. Again, we've seen the pass rush of, Dorance Armstrong, Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, Dante Fowler, I think even might have had a sack. I'm not sure. That may have been a couple weeks ago. But just a lot of good pressure. The interior, however, could use some work. I think stopping the run has been a little bit of an issue. Saquon Barkley had a good game, but Daniel Jones really ran pretty much over the defense, and that's got to be, I think, the main thing to address. The pass rush is incredible. The secondary has been very good, but it's got to be the run stopping, that interior defensive line, along with the linebackers, who I said were solid, but of course there were some missed tackles. That's still something that can be improved upon. Bohanna, I think, had a nice game, but it would be nice to just continue to bolster that defensive line, interior defensive line. Obviously, you're not going to see any major personnel changes, but that's just got to be an emphasis for me, stopping the run game, because Daniel Jones ran free way too many times. He had, I think, almost 80 yards in rushing. You can't see that out of a quarterback. That's not something you want to see. Daniel Jones is a good running quarterback, but he's no Lamar Jackson. He's no Kyler Murray, so really not the best showing by the run support on the defense. That's something that's got to continue to improve, but again, the defensive whole as a whole was incredible. And the last guy I want to talk about is Trayvon Diggs. He called game for the second week in a row. Had the huge tackle last week to finish off the Bengals, and had an incredible interception to put this game away. Daniel Jones really was not too bad throwing. Wasn't his fault. His receiver just fell down. But Trayvon Diggs took full advantage, getting his hand under that, popping the ball up, securing the game-sealing interception. That is his first of the year, and I hope that he can continue to get that going, hopefully, and get a little bit of a streak. So Diggs is at 1 on the year, 1 week in a row. Let's make it 2 next week. So really just excited to see Trayvon Diggs and get his first pick, and look for him to keep going and get another one soon, especially against Carson Wentz and the Commanders coming up next week. All right, man, we've talked a lot. So special teams, Brian Anger, good as usual at punter. Jake McQuaid, want to give him a shout out. No complaints. He's the long snapper. He got his job done. And Brett Maher, he has really surprised me this year in the best way possible. I was a little bit concerned about them bringing him in after the, inconsistencies in his time as a Cowboy back in 2018, 2019. But he has clearly improved a lot. He has stepped up his game, and I just want to give him a lot of credit for that. He has come in and has really brought some consistency to the kicker position, something that he was criticized for not doing, for being inconsistent. But he has really turned that narrative around this year. It was really pretty rough with Greg Zuerlein last year. The kicking was a problem. And Brett Maher has came in and he has brought some consistency. He has made himself really just one of the unsung heroes of this team. He solidified the kicker position, and he only missed his first kick last night. That was obviously a 59-yarder, so you can't really blame him for that. It was so close, too. Had the distance, just hooked a little bit off to the left. But he has really been good. He's been just everything the Cowboys could have hoped for, especially after the Jonathan Garibay, Liam Hairulahu kicking woes of the offseason. Brett Maher's came in, done everything we could have asked for him. So just really want to give him a lot of credit for that. So thanks again for watching. It was a bit of a longer video than I expected. There was just a lot I wanted to talk about. A lot of positivity this week. As the Cowboys improved to 2-1, they are in second place of the NFC East, just behind the Philadelphia Eagles. Man, they've looked good, unfortunately, but the Cowboys will have a date with them in a couple of weeks. That's going to be a big game. Look to see Dak back out there. So briefly, before we get out on this video, I just want to talk about the injuries. Conor McGovern, that high ankle sprain, has a chance to play next week, along with Jayron Kearse with the sprained MCL. Both of them, look at them to return 1 to 2 weeks. I'd call them questionable for next week. James Washington and Terrell Basham remain on injured reserve. James Washington can come back week 5. Terrell Basham can come back week 6. So those still a couple more weeks for them. And then Dak Prescott did not rule out playing week 4, but I can tell you right now, it's not going to happen. He will not be out there week 4. The stitches were just removed from his thumb. We saw him throwing in pregame, so it's nice to see him improving quickly. I mean, his recovery has been amazing. And I will say he is probably on track to play in the next, he said, couple of weeks. So I think week 4 is obviously not going to happen. Week 5, it's possible against the Los Angeles Rams. I think that's still pretty ambitious. I think week 6 against the Eagles is probably the game to circle on your calendars. I think that's the most likely return. So that'd only be 4 weeks, I believe, removed from the injury. But he has recovered well, and I think that's probably the most realistic of dates. Again, can't rule out the Rams, technically can't rule out the Commanders, but that one, I can tell you, it's not going to happen. But Dak, he's been really good, really supportive of Cooper Rush and the Cowboys, and I just want to emphasize again just how thankful I am that his injury recovery has gone well. I will say I was in shambles after week 1. I thought that this year was over for the Cowboys. If you watch that video, you can tell I was not in the best of moods, and I'll admit that I didn't think that the Cowboys had a chance, especially with that 4 to 6 and then 6 to 8 week timeline for Dak Prescott. I thought it was over. I thought it was pretty much tank season in Dallas. But Cooper Rush and the offense has done an incredible job. They turned it around after a really bad week 1 showing, and they've looked better and better, and I can't wait to see how the offense is going to look with Dak back in the lineup. This Cowboys team has surprised me. It's a roller coaster with this team, but they've gotten it done. They've improved. They've looked better every single week. They've rose up in the power rankings. And all of a sudden, I've gone from, it looks like the year's over, to this is a playoff team once again. It's going to be tough with the Eagles in the division for sure to win the NFC East, but I think this team is a no doubt wild card at the minimum. Just for sure getting into the playoffs if they can keep up what they've been doing. The defense has carried this team to some great performances, to some great wins. If the offense can continue to improve, continue to get consistency at wide receiver, at offensive line, through the running game and through the passing game with Cooper Rush obviously now, but with Dak Prescott coming back into the lineup, this team can make some noise going down the stretch and even into the postseason. So this team has it's been crazy. It's been a crazy first 3 weeks. It feels like it's already been half a season, but the Cowboys are looking better and better every week. Can't wait to see what they can continue to do as the year rolls on and as Dak comes back. So thanks again for watching. It was a long one. Thanks for sticking with me. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And thanks again if you made it this far, because it was a long one. But thanks again for watching. I will see you guys next time. And as always, go Cowboys.